Hello friends, and welcome back to Enterprise Architecture. Now, last episode, things got electric in Techopolis 3. We set up our first generators using water wheels, and indeed also a windmill, which you can see in the top left corner of the screen maybe. And that meant we could finally set up our mechanical presses behind us here. So now we can press out our various needed ingredients such as rods, wires, plates, and also our gears, at least for some of our metals. So we are at a great place. Today, we are going to be trying to get a few new ingredients, and that means having to make a few new types of rock. So, with no further ado, let's dive right in. Actually, maybe one little bit of ado before we dive right in. I did find out that for our cloches, we were not producing enough hemp to be able to keep up with our need for ersatz leather. So basically, this makes our tough fabric for us by growing our hemp. And I found a way to speed this up. So what you can actually do in your garden cloches is have no other drops upgrade in there. That will make sure that you're only getting the primary output. This works for our logs, this works for our hemp, it works for our canola, whatever. But you can also then put in both a fixed speed upgrade 3 as well as a fixed speed upgrade 2. So the fixed speed upgrade 3 decreases the time it takes by, 600 ticks? So 1200 goes down to 600. The speed upgrade 2 reduces that by another 400. These stack, friends. That means it's now only 200 ticks for us to get an ingredient out. And I did that in all of our cloches down here. And that means we are finally able to keep up with our production. The other thing I did between episodes is our friend Blackest Dawn stopped by and told me that there is a better way to do the treated planks than what I was doing here. They said that we could actually just use oak logs. So I am dumping all of our extra creosote oil in here directly with logs without having to use our assembler or our automated crafter to be able to make those individual planks. And that means we can do 4 at once, and our throughput has increased radically. But then the question was, well, what do we do with all these treated wood planks that we're not using? So what I've done is create a priority system here where the the treated wood planks that we are not using are getting dumped into lava and burned. I have nothing else to do with them, so we are just destroying those extra items. I don't have trash cans or void upgrades, so this is where they go. I already have, 3 full drawers of these, and since I don't have drawer upgrades, that means that number is just going to continue to grow. So for right now, we can more than keep up with the demand that we need for our other machines here, and we're just basically getting whatever our extra creosote oil that we're using when we're making our coal and our coal coke over here, so that production is now increased radically as well, especially since I added, I doubled the number of coke ovens, so now we have a whole bunch of those going on. So this is all giving us plenty of coal coke and plenty of coal for our various processes. We still have some bottlenecks with mini coal. We'll get to that at a future date. I'm not worried about it. We have more than enough basic technium for today. All right, so on to the actual quest lines. We are moving on to Deep Slate today. Now, Deep Slate is a little bit frustrating in this pack because you can only make it at this tier in our blast furnace. So we're gonna put stone into that, and that will give us our deep slate. Now, I went ahead and set up a few blast furnaces in preparation between episodes because I knew that we would be doing this quest line. So I've set up 3 of those here to start. And now all I have to do is tell each of these that what they should be sucking in is going to be stone. So let's just go to our whitelist. We're gonna plonk in here our stone. And the other thing we're gonna need to do is use coal coke because this whole furnace only runs on coal coke, unfortunately. So we're just gonna do that 3 times over here. Coal coke goes there, stone goes here. And then last but not least, we'll do that again here. Stone, and of course, coal coke. Now, once that starts going, we will get deep slate into our oak drawers here. And again, we're using the mechanism pipes now that we have access to them to insert those into this drawer once we have any of that coming in. So now it's just a waiting game for our first few pieces of stone and coal coke to start showing up all the way from the far end of the platform down here into our furnaces here. Alright, so while we wait for the deep slate to start processing, we're going to need to do a few more things here. I'm going to get started on making our focuses, although we haven't gotten to the crusher yet. We're going to double back for that in a second, but I just want to get these rolling while we have some time to process stuff. So we are going to need, once again for each of these focuses, 24 pieces of glass stained in a particular color. In this case, we're going to need light blue, blue, and yellow. Yellow is going to be the easiest for us because we already have some dandelions on hand, but we still are going to need to make some light blue dye here. So we want to do 3 pieces of that. And we're also going to need to reuse some regular blue dye. And again, we only need 3 pieces of that. You all probably recall this from when we were working on our blueprints previously. So let's just dump the dye out here because we're not going to use that. Now we need to grab up some glass, and we do have lots and lots of glass on hand, although our inventory is getting dangerously full once again. Let's just drop that real quick. So let's make up each of these in turn, and then we are going to feed that into our processor here that is going to make all of our various focuses for us. Foci? I think it's foci. I don't know, my Latin is bad. So we'll figure that out as we go. Okay, and then our blue dye is going to be the last thing that we need here, and we're going to be just a little short on glass, no problem. Let's grab up 8 more pieces here from whichever of these containers has that. There we go. Drop this in and complete that. Okay, great. Now we already have our alloys blueprint in here, so I believe this should be, no, we need a different one, right? We need the focus one? Which one do we need? The rock and richer one, right? Is this it? Yeah, it's the rock and richer one. Okay, we'll grab that blueprint then, and let's put our rock and richer blueprint in here. Yeah, now we can see that that's doing something. We're going to throw our various stained glass in there as well, and then we will be ready for those to get processed. Okay, great. So while that is going, now we need to move on to the crusher, as I mentioned before. The crusher is how we are going to be able to get from our deep slate into crushed deep slate. And that means we need to build the massive Immersive Engineering multi-block monstrosity. So for that, I think I am going to go back on my original idea here. I think I do want to go ahead and make up a crusher placer. For that, we are just going to need some iron dust. For that, we are going to need some iron dust mold, and just a dust mold, and it looks like I do have my dust mold, and I do have some iron. So what I can do here is throw this in there, and we will throw iron into our controller to melt it here, and momentarily that should give us the iron dust. Now, personally, I have some serious reservations about this notion of melting down iron and putting it into a dust mold. I think we should probably be crushing with a hammer to get dust, because I'm old school like that, and this would just be a single piece of smelted chunk, right? That's how molds work, but whatever. I'm not going to nitpick this any further than I already have. We will just grab that up, and then we have our iron dust. Now, hopefully this won't consume the hammer, but you never know what's going to happen. Oh, it did not consume the hammer. So now we have our immersive multi-block controller to place down the actual recipes now. And we also have this placer, which is how we determine what recipe gets placed. This basically works like the projectors that we've had in previous mod packs, but in this case, obviously we don't have projectors. We get this thing instead. It'll be fine. All right. Now, I had, between episodes, made up all of the ingredients that we're going to need to make up this machine. Where did I put those? Right here. All right. So we're going to need a redstone engineering block. We're going to need 10 light engineering blocks, 10 steel scaffolding, 8 steel fences, and 9 hoppers. Alright, it is definitely my first time using this immersive multi-block controller from Placers mod, so we are going to have to experiment a little and make sure that we are doing this right. In theory, I think if we throw that key on here, wherever we put it, the crusher placer, there we go. This seems to want to go ahead and place the machine, and it looks like it did that for me. This is not a ghost, they actually placed the whole template. So that seems to have worked. And now if we whack it with the hammer, we'll find out whether or not we placed it in the right direction. All right, we've got our basic universal cables from Mechanism now, ready to go. Do not fall into the crusher. We have done that too many times. And we can put an LV wire connector right on top of this, and that will automatically connect up. Then we grab our insulated LV wire coils, and we come over here and we can connect that to our relay from our power source all the way over here, and then down underneath is where we're actually got our water wheels. So this is now collecting power as a result. Now, I don't feel any shame in mixing different cable connector types because some just make more sense for what you're doing. In the long run, we will replace everything with Mechanism cables, but this is still early game, and honestly, it just doesn't bother me that much to have these be the way that they are. So let's go ahead and break our multi-block controller because our input to the crusher, our output from the crusher is on this side, and we're going to need that to be able to route our crushed cobblestone back over here. Excuse me, our crushed deep slate, whatever it is. That's going to come back over here on this side, and we just want to line that up right about here so that we can put down a box to hold it, just like that. All right, so we can put down instead a drawer here, and now the crushed deep slate will go in there instead. Let's lock this because, actually, we don't need to lock this because we don't care what ingredient actually goes in here. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and break this and put down a chest instead, just kind of out of principle at this point, and then we will configure this to pull from here. So the deep slate will instead go into this drawer. So we just need to tell this that we want crushed deep slate, none of these are crushed, that one is, into this drawer, and these should all get then pulled into there. Because I'm sure we're gonna throw other items into this crusher other than just that. For now, I can actually just toss all of our extra deep slate that popped into our inventory directly in here. The crusher don't care. It's just gonna crush up whatever you give it. So now all of that should come back out the other side, and that will give us our crushed deep slate. Back at base, all 3 of our foci are done, and we can collect those up, and we can also go ahead and get credit for those quests. We're just gonna drop our tech bucks into our tech buck storage per usual. All right, so now that we have these ready, we can use these in our, the rock washer, not the ore washer. So for that, we need to give it crushed deep slate. The good news is here, we only need to give it water. So we should be able to build this off of our accumulators that we've already done. What do we call those? The ambient water collector, not the aqueous accumulator. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's derivative, but we will take it. So now what we need to do is grab up our tanks. So to make tanks, we are going to grab a stack of glass here. This should be easy enough for us. First things first, we need to make these intermediate tanks, the strainer tanks, which are effectively, honestly, kind of useless. They're not very good. We're gonna need 9 of those. So let me grab, what do I need? 1 more piece of glass in that stack to make a 9th one, like that. Perfect. And then I need to grab up our smooth stone, which I know I'm producing right here. We'll grab a stack of that up. And now when we put this down the center, we can wrap this just like this, and that will give us our 3 tanks. Okay, so just like we did before, we're gonna need a couple of more chests. I'm just gonna go ahead and make 4 at a time, no reason not to. And then all we are missing now is the frame that goes in the middle, and I have just literally forgotten what those are, is the sturdy machine frame. Okay, great. And that means we need to grab up our stone gears and our coal gears. Got that in hand. And now we should be able to make those. So we're gonna need 3, 1, 2, 3. Everything else can go back into our inventory. And now finally, we've got all 3 of our rock washers ready to go. Perfect. So let's head back and set this up. All right, I've reconfigured this just a little bit here to make things a little bit easier to get to. So now I can just throw each of my rock washers right on top, and that is not where I want you to go. You go on top just like that, great. And now the water from our previous setup for our rock washing is happening down here below. We can bring all that water in, and that goes into our rock washer per usual. Now, we just need to throw in a focus in each of these, nickel, lead, and our silver, and that will give us all 3 of those. And then to get all of this actually running, we just grab our configurator and we need to tell this to start pulling our our crushed deep slate into each of these machines. So that should then get us our pieces. Now our pieces, we are going to need to put each of those into a compactor, and that compactor then is going to give us a raw version of the ore. And then per usual, the raw version, it looks like actually we need to put back through the crusher. So I can still use this same crusher that we've got and then just route those items into a different drawer, which is exactly what we're gonna do here. Once we have our dusts, we can just smelt those, but for consistency's sake, I'm going to go ahead and go back to using the melter because that's a thing that we have and it's effectively free for us to run given that we have an infinite source of lava here. None of the rest of these are really going to be as cost effective as using the melter and then casting it into whatever various ingredients we need. So the good news is compactors are really easy to make. We just need compressed cobblestone, copper gears, and sturdy machine frames. We already know how to make sturdy machine frames because we saw that a little while ago. I had set up a compactor here to pull in cobblestone from our cobblestone generator so that we can start making compressed cobblestone. So let's just empty that out. It wasn't that long ago, so it doesn't have that many pieces yet, but we can then use whatever we need from that to make up 3 compactors. There we go, just like that. While we are over here, let's go ahead and make up everything else that we are going to need for this setup. So we are going to need to make a solidifier and a controller. We need 3 each of those. So controllers are easy. We've got our black bricks already being automated. So 3 of those, all right. Then we're gonna need 3 solidifiers, just like that. And I already had a bunch of extra fuel tanks left over from a previous failed experiment. And then 2 of these are actually already full of lava, which is wonderful. So we can then use that to make our various lead pieces. And we are gonna go ahead and make our ingots as well here. Let's see here, our ingot molds, excuse me. And you know what, we've got more black bricks than we know what to do with right now. So let's go ahead and make up our ingot molds just using our normal black bricks here. So just like that. And we're gonna go ahead and dump the extras back in the chest. Great. And now we have everything that we need to automate that piece of the puzzle. So let's head back down this way and set that up. All right, we're gonna do a slight reconfiguration here of the way that these pipes fit together and into our various machines. I think that'll make this flow a little bit better. And we're actually gonna change up our design pattern a little bit. We had been running these back and forth across the way here, but now that our lava is all the way down there, I think we're gonna put a new lava generator upstairs and use that to make our smelters up here, or controllers, whatever, the casting setup. Cobblestone melter is not especially hard, as I recall. We just need black bricks and coal coke. I forgot to get the coal coke while we were over here, so let's just grab our coal coke stash right over here. Oh, we have so much coal coke now that I've optimized everything. I love it. All right. So coal coke is done. Black bricks should be here. We can grab half a stack of those up real quick, and we will make up our cobblestone melter. No, that's a compactor. Cobblestone melter real fast, just like so. All right, I think I am content to have my cobblestone melter here. I do want to go ahead and break off this pipe real quick because I do want to make sure that I'm not screwing up my attractors again, as I keep doing over and over again. So let's go ahead and grab up our tractors. We're gonna put this in here, and this time we are gonna tell us that we only want it to take cobblestone in, just like that. And of course we need to whitelist that. Come on, there you go. Now you're locked in. And now as soon as I connect this pipe up to our main bus, we will start attracting cobblestone into here, no problem. All right, so all 3 of our compactors are now getting in the raw ingredients here. Raw silver, raw lead, and our raw nickel. So to deal with those, we need to feed these back into our crusher here. So I think we're gonna do that just the really, really simple way. We're just gonna pull out the top of these. And honestly, we don't really care about separating the ingredients in this case. We literally just want to throw them into the crusher and not have to think about it, because these will get crushed into our various dusts. And you know, it doesn't really matter if they're mixed because we will sort them as they're coming out. So for right now, let's check over here on how our lava production is going, slowly but surely, but that's all that we need. We are going to take our mechanical pipe out of the top of here, and then we are going to put our tank on top. That's going to be our temporary storage here, just like that. If we need to add more of our melters, we can always do that in a row back here, pretty much all the way up to the edge of that crusher. Wonderful, and then our logistical transporters will go on top of there. So now we just need to go ahead and put down our solidifiers next, because the solidifiers are going to determine what goes into these boxes, just like so. And like I said, we're gonna have 2 more of these once I go back and make those. And then these each get our fluids from our controllers. And again, we need to think so that we can move in that back direction. So we need fluid mechanical pipes on top, and we don't want all of these to connect to each other. So I'm gonna do a row of 5, just like this. And since the nickel is going to have 2 other potential outputs, I am going to split these off. So let's grab up this configurator, and we just click right between these here. Nope, right between them there, so that that one and that one disconnect. There we go. So nickel is going to have both of these different types, or excuse me, all 3 of these ingredients coming out, or at least 2 types of ingredients plus the ingots coming out. All right. So our controllers now can go on top of here, and it can go on top of here, and can go on top of here, just like so. And last but not least, these just need to get the crushed dusts and the lava into them. So the lava is right here in a row with it. So that makes it pretty easy for us to go up and over and pipe that lava into the top with our mechanical pipes. So let's do that real fast here. I think the easiest way to do this is just to nerd pull up and go up and around. Oh, this is gonna be a problem though, because I put that in an awkward place. So let's move our tank over here. We don't want this to conflict with our wires. Lava and wires are not things you generally want to mix when you're building. There we go. And now we can just run this directly into these from the top, like so. That should work fine for us. And then the logistical transporters are going to go on the back so that we can pull our dust all the way from that main supply line over there into this. So let's do that real quick. And I think we're going to go up and over that wire as much as possible also. Now, these do need to be filtered, so we are going to have to put more of our drawers on the back of these so that these only get a single item. Now, I could filter these using the logistical sorters, but as mentioned previously, the logistical sorters are very noisy and I kind of hate them. So since we're not going to be using those instead, we're just going to use these oak drawers and we will lock those real fast. Just like that. All right, at long last, all of our various ores are getting pumped into the crusher now that we've gotten this configured. The crusher did not like when we used logistical pipes that were connected to each other for both the metals and the deep slate. We had to do those separately. I think it might be getting a little backed up with regard to what input it can handle. So by putting these into separate pipes into the same general container, this seems to work fine without any trouble. Although, again, we might need to make some more crushers here. Now all we need to do is take out some of our dusts here. It doesn't look like our silver dust has come through yet, but we can now put those into these drawers at the top here, and that will then set our filtering for those drawers. That means then, after that's done, all we have to do is configure these pipes to start pulling and we will be good to go. All right, this is all starting to come together. Now all we have to do is put in the right molds in the right places. So we go ahead and put our ingot mold there. We are going to put our plate mold for our nickel here. We're going to put our rod mold on the opposite side. Another ingot mold goes in the middle. And then on the far side here, our silver is going to get another ingot mold. So that should give us all of our 5 ingredients here that we are going to need. Now I just have to go back and wait for everything to start processing and getting melted and cooled. All right, so let's go ahead and grab up some of these ingredients and start putting them in their respective drawers. And we will also get credit for those quests as we go. Plates we're not going to get credits for until we do nickel ingots first. There we go. There's plates as well. We do need to get rods. Give me the rods. There's more quests. Great. And then last but not least, we will grab our silver and get credit for that. Perfect. Okay. So all of these are now working, and you can see here, you can use lava tanks between your controllers to be able to maximize your lava usage. So I recommend doing that. That's going to make that a little bit more efficient so that you don't have to have 3 tanks. You can just get away with using 2. So all of these are now making all of our various ingredients, and everything seems to be working pretty well. The only thing that's a bottleneck right now is our crusher. We do need to make probably 2 more crushers, and that means I need to reset all of this up, but we'll do that between episodes. Alright, so that means we have a boatload of quests complete and we can collect all of our tech bucks. Wonderful. Alright, and with all that complete, I'm going to call that the end of this episode. So next episode, we will finish off this last little remaining bit of quest line and then start doing some more interesting things with all of these various metals that we have created. So, thanks again for watching Enterprise Architecture, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends!